talk.
No, you listen, you little bitch. You hang up on me again, I'll gut you like a fish, understand?
Hello, everybody. This is Hawkins House of Horror, and you'd best subscribe, because if you don't, I'll gut you like a fish, you understand? I'm just kidding, everybody. Justin Hawkins here from Hawkins House of Horror, where horror is not a hobby, but a lifestyle. And remember, we all go a little mad sometimes. So today what we're going to be doing is ranking the Scream franchise from my least favorite. And as I say, my least favorite, because they're all my favorites. I love them. Scream is the most solid franchise out of any franchise out there. Not one bad entry. So when you say that this movie is your least favorite out of the franchise, no matter what, that's phenomenal because the whole franchise is great. So let's get to ranking the Scream franchise from my least favorite to favorite. And then also I'm going to rank my opening scenes of each movie from least favorite to favorite. So let's dive in. Alright guys, let's get to this ranking video. First off, I want y'all to say hello to somebody. Say hello to Miss Sydney. And if y'all would have guessed that we named her after the star... Oh, we got a yawn there too. I just kind of woke her up from a nap a little bit ago, about a half hour ago. So if you would have guessed that we named her after the star of the franchise that we are about to rank, you would be 100% correct. She is named after Sydney Prescott. So everybody say hello to beautiful Sydney. She is going to be ranking some videos with us. So let's start the ranking. Alright, coming in at number 5 is going to be Scream 3. I know, big shocker. Scream 3 is a lot of people's least favorite out of the franchise, as it is mine. Now, overall, it was a great movie. I absolutely love the movie. You're going to hear that a lot because I love them all. Scream 3, it was too slapstick. It was too campy. I don't like comedy in my horror movies. I actually don't like any comedy in my horror movies. I just want it to be as cold-blooded as possible, and I just don't care for comedy. The character of Dewey was way too campy. And I get Dewey's kind of always had that comic relief side and sense to him, but in 3 it just went way too far. I think the whole entire movie took it too far, the slapstick. I like the opening scene. I like that they brought Cotton back for the opening scene. There are a lot of parts that I do like about 3. I liked Roman's reveal at the end. It was kind of bittersweet because I think it kind of took away from Billy and Stu. But you know what? Billy and Stu still are who they are and did what they did. Well, I say are who they are and did what they did, but Billy is dead. Stu is not alive, or Stu is not dead. Stu is alive. He's alive and well. And if you don't follow Craven Something Scary, Craven spelled like Wes Craven, Craven Something Scary, you need to go follow him right now. He's the conductor of the Stu train. As you can see, I got some Hawkins House of Horror stuff on. And then this is a shirt that Cheyenne just made, Hawkins House of Horror with Ghostface on it with the buck knife. And then on the back here, Stu is alive, Stu train. Because we are running that Stu train till the end because Stu is alive and doing well. But that is, I have a whole bunch of stuff about that. And I will get to that in a later video. I will ramble on about that for hours because I am so passionate about horror, Scream, and Stu. So we need to just kind of drop it and move on. But I also liked it though because Roman thought he was a good character. And they didn't confirm that there was a second accomplice or killer. So that made you lead to think that Roman actually did all of that by himself, which is pretty cool to think that he had all those kills by himself and he did all that work by himself. And then just knowing that it's Sydney's long-lost brother, he was, jealous of her. He went to find his mom and got shut out in the cold. So overall, I love the third entry of Scream, but it is ranking in at number 5. Coming in at number 4 is going to be Scream 4. Now, this is where it got really hard for me because they're all such good entries, but Scream 4, I really loved that movie. I mean, I thought it was a great movie. I thought the plot was awesome. The killer reveals were great. I thought Sydney was pretty good in it. I liked her role and her character in it. Jill really grew on me. I just loved how cold-blooded she was at the end when she, flipped on her switch. The whole time she's playing this innocent poor me card, and then all of a sudden, boom, she's a cold-blooded bitch. I love that part where she just says, I even had to kill my own mother. No loss there. She's just so cold-blooded and such a badass. And then she beats the shit out of herself at the end. And then that part where Dewey says, oh, Sid's still hanging on. She was just, and she had enough. She lost it. She ripped everything out of the hospital bed, just took off. She was just such a badass in that movie. So Jill has really grown. I mean, same with Charlie. I didn't really care for Charlie a whole lot until his reveal. Kirby came out, untied him to rescue him, and then all of a sudden he stands up with that Michael Myers kitchen knife and boom, right in the stomach, stabs her. You know, I just somebody that you think that he was obsessed with, head over heels in love with, and he just stabbed her right in the guts. You know, and then when going to think back, Charlie had some awesome kills out with Kirby, and then one of my favorite kills of the franchise, Olivia, where Jill and Kirby are in Jill's bedroom, and then Olivia is across the alley in her bedroom, and Ghostface is on the phone, says he's in the closet, and Jill and Kirby look, and they're like, no, you're a liar, and he says, I was never said I was in your closet, and he comes busting out of Olivia's closet, buck knife right through Olivia's hand. He's just flinging her, smashing her into the walls, into the dressers, over the bed, smashes her through the windshield, holds his knife up to show Kirby and Jill what he's going to do to her, rips her back in, and then by the time Sidney gets up there, she was completely gutted. Her intestines and everything were hanging out on the bed. Blood was splattered all over the dressers and the walls. It was an awesome kill scene. However, the lighting and contrast, I don't know what they were going for there, but that really lost some points for me, unfortunately. I did not care for the coloring and contrast of the movie the whole way through it. So Scream 4 is ranking in at number 4. Coming in at number 3, this is where shit gets real, is 2022. 2022, phenomenal movie. I wish that we would have seen the characters of Wes and Judy Hicks a little bit more. I think that they really underutilized them. I think that they could have been survivors over the twins, in my opinion. I liked the twins just because they were Randy Meek's family. That's the only reason. Other than that, I didn't really care for them. I thought the character of Wes was great. I think Dylan Minnette did phenomenal. Him and his mom were great characters. And then I loved that part where he's fighting Ghostface off and he says, fuck you. And you're like, oh, Dylan, Wes is going to get away. And then that knife just slowly goes right through his neck. That was great practical effects. The kills in this movie were phenomenal. And that's also a big reason why I ranked 4 above 3. Because for those of you who don't know, in 3, Stu was actually supposed to be in prison pulling the strings of the whole entire operation. Then the Columbine shooting happened, unfortunately, and they threw that whole entire idea off the rails because they didn't want backlash. The Columbine shooting just happened, and they didn't want Stu having high school kids go around killing their peers. So that's why they had to throw that idea off the table, get with the Roman idea. And I also think that is why that we had such weak kills in 3. That's a big reason why 3 is ranked in number 5 also, because the kills we got were not very good. They weren't brutal. They were just very weak kills, just a couple stabs and slices, nothing real brutal at all. And 4 really amped that up. So that is why 4 was above 3. But coming back to 2022, we had some badass brutal kills. They was phenomenal. The character of Jenna Ortega, she was phenomenal. She did a great job playing Tara. I absolutely loved her as Tara. I didn't really care for Melissa Barrera as Sam. And I don't want to say that it's anything against Melissa Barrera. I just think it was her character Sam that I didn't really care for. I liked the character of Tara, and I loved Jenna Ortega as Tara. She just blew it completely out of the water. And I really think Kyle Gallner got underutilized. He was in it for 2 very, very quick scenes. I mean, it was probably the same scene. They went right from the high school to the bar, and then he just got that quick stab in the neck. I will say, when he's outside pissing on the walls, and he's like, fuck this bar, and then his motor starts revving up, and then you hear Red Right Hand playing on the radio. That just gave me chills. I absolutely loved that part. And then they killed him off so quick. I thought he could have been a red herring the whole way through the movie. And I think they just kind of did Kyle Gallner a little dirty by not keeping him around very long, and how quick his death was. So, number 3, Scream 2022. Coming in at number 2, the original Scream 1996. Yeah, right. Back that up. I am just kidding. There's no way in hell that's happening. Coming in at number 2 is Scream 2. For real this time. Now, Scream 2 was a really great movie, and I almost ranked 2022 above Scream 2. Just because of the brutality of the kills, and I just really loved the movie, the opening scene, a lot of things. However, 2022 still had my boy Randy in it for most of the movie, which they killed him off, and that was the reason why it kind of lost a point, because Randy was one of my favorites. Obviously, I think Randy had a special place in all of our hearts. So Scream 2022 had a good opening scene. It honestly wasn't one of my favorites. It was pretty awesome, but it was not one of my favorites. You know, it had Jada Pinkett Smith. You know what? I better keep her name out my mouth. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So coming in at number 1, of course, what else? The original OG 1996 Wes Craven Scream. directed by Wes Craven, written by Kevin Williamson. Doesn't get any better than that. Drew Barrymore, Roger L. Jackson opening scene actually gave everybody chills. That movie reinvented the whole entire slasher genre, reinvented the whole horror genre, in my opinion. Phenomenal. That movie has a special place in my heart. I remember as a young kid at my aunt and uncle's house staying the night, peeking. I acted like I was asleep because they used to watch Scream all the time, and I was laying in the middle of the living room floor. I would do it like every night because they used to watch Scream 2 all the time. And I would lay there acting like I was asleep, peeking, watching Scream through the little cracks of the blanket. And my aunt knew I was watching the whole time, you know. She knew that I loved that movie and I was peeking. But that movie has had a special place in my heart since then. That movie actually, I think it takes up almost all of my heart if you ask my wife and a lot of other people. Just absolutely, I am a horror fanatic. But Scream itself, and Scream 1996 original, has a huge, huge spot in my heart, and it always will forever. Such iconic lines in there. You know, Billy Loomis, we all go a little mad sometimes. Corn syrup, same thing they use for pig's blood and Carrie. You know, and then of course you got Stu, my boy Stu, greatest Ghostface killer ever. Just phenomenal acting in that movie. Everything about that. Tatum was great. Dewey was great. Drew Barrymore in that opening scene, like I already stated, was absolutely phenomenal. Just great movie the whole way through. And the whole time you think it's Billy, and then you're like, no, it's not Billy. Then you're like, yeah, I think it is Billy. And then you're like, oh, no, it can't be Billy. Then after Sid gives it up, you're like, oh, shit, it was Billy. And then, of course, Ghostface comes in, and you think he guts him up a little bit, and Billy turns around and falls to the ground. You're like, holy shit, it's not Billy. Then Sid goes downstairs, outside, comes back in, locks the door. Billy comes falling down the stairs. You're like, wow, well, at least he's still alive. Maybe he'll help Sid. He locks the door and says, we all go a little mad sometimes. Anthony Perkins Psycho. And you're just like, oh, shit. It really is fucking Billy. You know, like they made it so obvious it was Billy the whole way through the movie, and they kept throwing you off, and it was just back and forth, and then you're like, shit. And then Stu comes around the corner, and you're like, okay, Stu's gonna save her, you know? And then, of course, surprise, Sydney. Just absolutely phenomenal. And I realize I get so excited. That's actually not when he said, we all go a little mad sometimes. He said, corn syrup, same thing they use for pig's blood and Carrie. That's actually when you're like, okay, he is the killer for sure. And then she says, you guys have gone mad. And that's when he says, we all go a little mad sometimes. Anthony Perkins, Psycho. And I love the part, you could tell Billy was just a horror freak also. I love the part where Sid says, you sick fucks have watched one too many horror movies. And he gets pissed. He says, nah, Sid, don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative. Just absolutely loved it. So that movie, by far, no doubt, number one in the whole entire world out of any franchise, any genre, anything. Scream 1996. All right, let's get to ranking the opening scenes of the franchise. So coming in at number 5 for least favorite opening scene is going to be Scream 4. I just didn't really care for Scream 4. The first fake out was alright, and then the second fake out, it just got too old. I was already burnt out. I didn't really care for the fake out after fake out. By the time the fake outs were over, I wasn't attached to either one of those characters. Ghostface didn't really start off real mellow and work his way up like he did in a couple of the other movies. It really gave you chills and goosebumps the whole time. Overall, I didn't really care for the opening of Scream 4, to be honest. I loved the Scream 4, but the opening was probably one of the weakest parts, and that's a shame because the openings are one of the best things about the Scream movies. Although I will say, one thing I did like about it, I loved the show True Blood, and Sookie Stackhouse in there, the main character, I can't stand her, and she's the girl that Kristen Bell stabs in the guts, and I kind of like to see that just because I can't stand Sookie Stackhouse. I love Bill Compton, I like Jason Stackhouse in True Blood, but I just can't stand Sookie. She annoys the shit out of me. So that did give it a couple points, but unfortunately, it is still ranked last. Coming in at number 4 is going to be the opening to Scream 3. Now, I love the opening to Scream 3. I love how they brought Cotton Weary back, who's been around from the beginning. I love how he gets the call. And to be honest with you, the voice changer, they get everybody's voices, and they can sound like people once they talk to them. I didn't really like that idea throughout the movie. However, the opening scene, it was badass because there's this girl, she calls Cotton, Cotton's talking to her, kind of flirting with her, and then all of a sudden it turns into Ghostface. Cotton starts freaking out because he tells him, you know, he says Christine's in the shower, and then Cotton starts bashing into cars to get out of the traffic jam, riding home, And, you know, he says, all you got to do is tell me where Sidney Prescott is. And he says, fuck you. And he says, wrong answer. Click. So Cotton's like, shit, Christina's dead. He drives home. Meanwhile, Ghostface comes in the house. He's got Cotton's voice because he just talked to him. And she thinks that it's Cotton because he's talking to him. Then Ghostface comes around the corner, chases her. And you think that he probably killed her because it flashes back to Cotton getting home, running into the house. Here she's hiding in the den. He sees the knife marks through the wall. Eventually the knife holes. Gets through the door and she goes to hit him with a golf club because she thinks it was him trying to kill him. Cotton's trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Then Ghostface comes up behind Christina. Bam, bam, bam. Stabs her a bunch. Awesome. Then he finally defeats Cotton and he's over him with that badass voice changer back to the Ghostface voice. It was a simple game, Cotton. All you had to do was tell me where Sidney was. Now you lose. / rate the title card. Overall, great opening. Not my favorite though. One of my favorites, but not my favorite. That's why that one ranks in at number 4. Ranking in at number 3, Scream 2. Now, the opening of Scream 2 is great. Omar Epps, you know who else? They both did a great job. I thought they did a phenomenal job. And I absolutely love the idea of Stab 2, you know, being made after a true story of the first actual Scream movie. And them giving out robes and knives and masks. Everybody's obsessed with that. I could just imagine being in that movie theater with a bunch of nuts just like myself. You know, it would be absolutely phenomenal to be in that movie theater. Everybody going nuts, watching that movie together, just vibing together. Then, of course, he goes to the bathroom. Here's people in the stall, thinks they're, you know, doing something they shouldn't be in there. Puts his head against the stall. Bam! Buck 120 comes right through the bathroom stall into his face. Ghostface puts on his leather jacket. Goes out to the movie theater. She grabs him, blood on her fingers. Like, what the hell's going on? Then she's getting stabbed. And, of course, everybody in the movie theater didn't know it because they're all jumping around like a bunch of, you know, hooligans anyways. Stabbing each other with fake knives. And by the time people realize this is real, it was too late. She's up in front of the big screen there. Screams a blood-curdling scream. And then just, boom, hits the ground. Title card. Great opening. Still not my favorite, though. Let's get to number 2. Ranking at number 2. Scream 2022. Now, Scream 2022 had a badass opening. This is probably the closest that we're going to get to the original forever. I don't think we're going to get anything like this quite again. Just the way Roger L. Jackson started out just talking mellow and then just kept up, just kept getting more and more, you know, chilling. Absolutely phenomenal by Roger L. Jackson, and Jenna Ortega did an amazing job. Reminding me so much of Roger L. Jackson and Drew Barrymore from the first one. Absolutely great. And there's a lot more to that opening scene that I've been saying. And I'm not going to get too much into it because it has to do with Stu. Because Stu had to do with that opening scene a lot more than most people think. So, but like I said, that's going to be a whole nother video. Don't even get me rambling onto that right now. So, yes, Scream 2022 definitely ranks in at number 2. Ghostface was brutal as hell too. You know, he's doing the horror trivia and then she says she loses because he said name the killer of the original stab, and she says, oh, I got you, you fuck, it was Billy Loomis. Wrong. And she says, what? No, it is. And he gets pissed. He says it was Billy Loomis and Stu Macher. I mean, you could just tell he was pissed off and he was offended because it was Stu. I mean, I'm not getting into that right now, but it was Stu. So, you know, then he attacks her, or goes to attack her, but first she opens the door, he's right there, she gets him out of the door, locks the security system with her phone, he's unlocking it, she locks it, he's unlocking it, and then all of a sudden the phone rings, do you think I made it in your house? And then he attacks her, just so brutally attacks her, stomps her leg and breaks it, just fantastic opening scene. I was up out of my seat. All 3 times I saw that movie in movie theaters, I was like up out of my seat, and that scene just absolutely phenomenal. Ranking in at number 1, of course, the OG. Scream 1, 1996, just like the movie ranking. Best opening scene of any movie ever out there, and nothing is ever going to top that. Roger L. Jackson with Drew Barrymore as Casey Becker, and it just phenomenal opening scene. The way it's just like 2022, started off so mellow, she's flirting with him a little bit, then things go south, and you know, then all of a sudden she has a boyfriend who's on his way, and they already have him tied up outside, and they start playing the game, and you know, he gets his guts ripped out. And why? Because she claims to be a horror freak, and misses like one of the easiest questions ever. That's one thing that I'm like, oh, come on with that movie. Like, name the killer of the original Friday the 13th. Come on, guys, who is it? Jason's mother, exactly. And she misses it. She says it's Jason, and of course it's not. Jason doesn't roll around till part 2, and that was Sackhead Jason. And if you're a horror freak, you better know that. If not, you need to switch to a different genre, because that's just beginner stuff. But that was the only thing with the whole entire movie, though. Other than that, Scream 1996 was flawless in my opinion. Loved every minute of it, and loved every minute of the opening scene. The way they attacked her there, it was just awesome. They collapsed her throat. She's trying to yell for her parents. She couldn't hardly speak because I think her trachea was collapsed. And then they can hear her fighting to breathe. And then they hang her from a tree, rip her open a little bit. Just can't beat it. Never will any opening scene of any movie ever top that. So there's my ranking of the Scream franchise and opening scenes all put together. Please let me know what you guys want to see me do next for my next video. And let me know your guys' rankings for both the franchise and opening scenes. I'm very, very curious to see. Something about Scream 4, why it didn't rank higher also, or I'm sorry, Scream 2022, is Dewey's death scene. And I didn't bring that up because, one, it's emotional for me. But two, I get carried away with that because there's a lot more to that too. So if you're wondering why I didn't bring up a huge part of that movie, that's why, because I kind of just keep going on and on and on. So I'll save that for another video. But in the meantime, let me know what you guys want to see next. Let me know your rankings. And thank you guys for watching the end. Please like, subscribe, comment, share. You guys mean the world to me. Thank you very much.